Kawalan yo welelen ya walon ya wo lele amawa ye wono. Yewelen yo ala mawo lele yamawa ue yala wo no 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 ama. Nunu e welelen ya no kawana wo. Hi guys, my name is Isu, also known as Share the Light, and I reached out to our community celebrating 100,000 members in our community of light warriors, earth angels, fellow healers, cosmic ancient souls, and you guys sent in your questions and we are answering them today. The first most common question that came through was, how do I find my purpose or my path? And this was a question that I'm surprised most of you guys have, but also like not surprised, because we're all here to really live our soul's highest potential, and we all wish to feel like we're in alignment with our soul's mission. And so being able to find out what your purpose is and what your unique, authentic path is, it's only going to be revealed by you actually doing the things that you feel inspired to do. Before I did everything that I am doing now, I was really lost. Like, I was very disconnected. I had so much wounding around my sensitivity. I was literally like depressed, anxious. I lived most of my life numb and just fully checked out on stimulants or just distracting myself, because my medicine and my purpose is in helping people learn how to create safety within their body and to feel safe enough to express their feelings, their emotions, and eventually their authentic truth and self-expression, which is what I do. But that all was really hard because I was so disconnected for so long. So it wasn't until I really started focusing on my internal healing work, learning how to ground and like reconnect to my physical body, that as my soul started to descend fully into my body and that energy started to clear all of the trauma, all of the old programming out of my system, there are a lot of things and ways that have helped me that I feel I just felt personally inspired to pass along and share while I was going through it. As that's changed throughout the years, I've just continued sharing. And I feel like only now, because I've shared so consistently, have I been able to really realize and refine like what my natural talents are, like what I'm naturally good at and how I naturally help people. That feels in alignment and just easeful for me. It just feels like this is what I'm meant to do. This is how I'm meant to help people, because it's just how I am. And I've leaned into that. And so it's through teaching, it's through healing, it's through sessions, it's also through music and just expressing myself. And that takes time. It takes time to explore and try things. And I feel like as long as you follow the way that you're inspired and the way that you are guided and just surrender to that, whatever it looks like, it does not matter. You will naturally fall into and land where you're meant to be. And you will help the people that you are meant to help. And you'll feel aligned through listening to that pull, even if it doesn't make sense. Because also the way I started this, like it did not make any sense whatsoever, especially with light language. Like it was so not, I was like, I don't know, it just feels right. I just have to share this. And so I just continue to do that. And so that's a big part of finding your purpose, is you just have to follow that feeling. And we're in a time right now where our hearts are leading us. It's not the mind. And I feel like that's why light language, this expression, or just energy is so important now, because we can all feel what feels good and what does not feel good, what feels grounded and harmonic and resonant with our soul, and what is just so off. And so the more you can surrender to where you're being guided, even if it's not clear, but the feeling is just there and it's strong, you'll always end up in the right place at the right time or learning, expressing, sharing, doing, helping whoever you're meant to help. And eventually that continues, and then it builds and becomes your life. And we could go so deep into all of that, but that's kind of like short answer, what I'd say. The second most asked question is more about my story, more about my journey. What has really helped me step into my gifts, and my gifts being I'm a healer, I'm a channel, I make music, and I would also say that part of my gift is being a community builder. I feel very strongly about that. I feel like without going into my whole entire life story, the biggest like moments that have really transformed me is my childhood and my upbringing. I've experienced lots of traumas. Just to name a few, like I started using substances at a very young age. I was pretty disconnected. My parents were divorced. My father remarried to someone who was extremely young, had kids. I had to like be a mother kind of figure, babysitter as a punishment. I was always in trouble for something. My father was extremely strict. Sorry, Dad, if you're watching this. And my mother was just very emotionally like not capable of holding space for me, and just did not know what expressing emotions, had just no connection to expressing emotions whatsoever. And so I had a lot of different experiences that disconnected me from my sensitivity. As a very sensitive child, I've always been highly sensitive. And so I had all of these experiences in my life that made me feel that feeling my emotions was just wrong, not safe, not a good thing. And a lot of things that made me feel like I was misunderstood, I was rejected, all of these stories. And so the beginning of my awakening journey really happened when I reached the peak of my depression. I was addicted to cocaine. I was severely anxious and I needed help. And I did not want to take medications because I had a best friend whose mother died from crashing her car into her house on meds. So I just had that as like, no way, I am not taking medication. And so I know, sorry, that's intense, but this is like real life shit. And so I turned to meditation. And meditation was the thing that kind of opened everything up. And naturally, I started landing back into my body very slowly, and I started my healing journey. I stopped drinking, I stopped using substances, and I started regaining my sensitivity, which allowed me to start feeling and processing like all the shit that I had gone through in my life. And going back to my purpose, I just started sharing and teaching and trying to integrate it into my life through talking about it. And like I would practice things and then I would share it with people through YouTube and Instagram and through music. And so with my gifts that I have now, I worked a lot of different jobs, all within holding space in some kind of way, shape, or form. I used to work in urgent care and was a medical assistant, and then I worked in mental health, and then I started channeling right before COVID hit. And I was working at a mental health program, a partial hospitalization program, and an intensive outpatient. So this was like a step down after somebody just like had a suicide attempt and needed more intensive care. And so I was always kind of around help. I was always helping people like in some way. And once my channeling abilities came online with light language, I kind of reached this place where I felt like I was limited in the way that I could help people because I was the only non-clinician. I was a manager, and so I worked with therapists, dietitians, psychologists, psychiatrists, And I was the only like non-clinician. It wasn't my place to recommend things or to hold space. Like I just kind of was a good vibe at the front desk and kept everyone going, and I would see so many patients that I felt were just so empathic and spiritually gifted, star seeds, misunderstood, and just broken families that didn't know what else to do besides, take them to a doctor where they were then labeled and medicated and then just put through this whole line of like the insurance company system, and that's like a whole other portal. And it just didn't like really feel right. Like it was beautiful for a certain period of time and gave me a lot of training, especially within like my empathy and like learning how to protect my energy. But it just, after a certain point, I was like, I feel like I can't really help people in the way that I'm meant to. And so I started, again, still sharing all of this. I started sharing my gifts online. I started sharing my channeled songs and codes and downloads that I was getting while processing all of this. And then COVID happened, which intensified even more. And then I eventually chose to surrender fully into what I was here to do, which was to help people heal in my own way. And that was, helping people who felt like they were not from Earth, very galactic. And I ran my first heal program. It was literally called the Heal Method. This was years ago. And I made my first 10K month. And I was like, okay, this is my sign to step away from the corporate life and just go all in sharing my gifts into helping people in my own way, and just again following my inspiration, following that call even if it didn't make sense. And so yeah, I would say COVID, for like many people, COVID was a really big pivotal moment, because it was when I felt this like split between I'm awakening and activating so many of my gifts, and I'm feeling limited in how I can share them because I'm in this like corporate world. And if I feel limited, it's like killing my soul. And so I had to step away from that. And the more I surrendered to that, that's how we got here. And I started making lots of music too with my free time. And then I started healing a lot more because I had more free time. Went through a crazy Saturn return and ended up not having another 10K month after that. I was like pretty struggling hardcore during my Saturn return, but I never let it stop me. And I feel like I've learned so much with all of that time. And yeah, I had so much time to just focus on my healing, and it's really my healing journey, and just pulling back, stripping all the layers of all the gunk that's allowed me to like just be more of myself and love more of myself and remember my enoughness and to be able to show up completely as I am. The third question is, how do I trust and share my true voice? This is another common question that I get, especially because I share so much of my voice. And I would say it's more of a practice of creating safety in your body to lean on it as a tool, as a way for you to move energy, as a way for you to get to know yourself, as a way for you to connect to your soul, to connect to the natural world. And it's more about creating that inner safety and that groundedness to give yourself permission to actually open it up and let it, and surrendering to it, to let it heal you. There's been so many times where I've would sing and then just start crying because there's just so much healing in that opening. But until we slow down enough to sit with ourselves and create the environment to actually explore what lives inside of our bodies, it won't happen. But the more that we practice it, the more we'll trust ourselves, get to know what the frequency is, the more it becomes embodied, and you can get a felt sense for when your voice is really coming from your soul versus like up here or from a scattered place. And so yeah, really grounding into your body, creating safety, and then just practicing it opens it up. My voice really started becoming a healing tool when my light language activated back in 2020, as I mentioned. And it has become such a big part of everything that I do. It helps me regulate my nervous system. It helps me just clear energy. It just feels good. And so it's not necessarily, again, about how it sounds or like what other people are going to think, because I need this for me no matter what. And I just share it because I'm guided to, and I don't know what else to share besides what I do all the time. And so, yeah, I feel like in order for it to open, you just have to practice it. So I feel like a quick way to start opening it up is to get into nature. I feel like my voice always, like I just end up humming or singing, or like melodies are just kind of like, they just come through when I'm in nature. So if you want to start, I would just go out there and let yourself be a kid and just hum and like sing to the trees and just surrender to wherever that takes you, and don't think about it. Just go for it, you know. Your voice is already, it's a part of you. So just let it come through, let it be expressed. And you'll find that more layers will kind of get peeled off and will start to break open the more that you do it. This question also is super common. I get asked this all the time. And the question is, what is light language? Light language. Yeah. What is it? What am I doing? What am I saying? What am I speaking? What language is it? What am I doing with my hands? It is a form of energy, of expression that goes beyond what we can even begin to explain. Light language is something that is helping us at this time to move out of our head and down into our heart. It is extremely multidimensional, and what it can do, it has so many branches in the network of all of its multidimensionality. But in simplest forms, it's an energy, and it's something that we all access, that we all remember, that we can all feel, and it just drops us into our body, into our heart, into our soul. And it's here to help us with that process, with healing, letting go, allowing ourselves to trust what we feel. It's more of a feeling than it is something that can be explained. And that's what the paradox of the title of light language, like we just all agree to call it light language, but I wouldn't even really say it's like a language. It like transcends language, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's different for everyone too. Like it comes in spoken form, song form, written form, art form, movement, visual codes, telepathy, dreams. There are so many different ways that people can access light language. And that's like the second part to this question, is how do I start? Can anyone learn it? I would say yes, but it's not something you really learn in a traditional way that you would learn like about an actual language on like Duolingo or something. This is more of a remembrance and an activation and a feeling and a surrendering to process. And it's something that we all know and remember, but again, requires a level of inner safety to surrender to its opening, to surrender to the remembrance of it. What do I mean by that? If you are someone who, I see this a lot, like maybe comes from a religious background and that demonizes channeling altogether, there might be a subconscious fear around channeling. If you are someone who was shut down in their childhood and has some traumas around expressing your voice in general, or your spiritual gifts because you were told, that's not real or whatever, then there could be, again, a fear or a trauma around allowing yourself to remember. Or if you are someone who is extremely analytical and is very skeptic and needs needs and requires like data, like definitions and like facts and stats and whatever in order to believe something, then that also might block you in being able to access it. And so if you want to start remembering it, if you want to start allowing it to move through you, it really is, like I said, a matter of surrendering to your feeling, to surrendering to your heart, and really getting out of the mind. And sometimes I feel like until we start doing our healing journey, we won't access it because we'll come across a lot of blocks or fears that don't let us do something that could be helpful for us in this way. Another thing too is I feel like people don't believe themselves when they're starting to access it. They feel like they're making it up, or that they're like overthinking it, or like need to translate every single word and every single code and need to know exactly where it's coming from. And then there can be fear around what you're tapping into, which is really just like a fear of your own power. And so that's also another area of work, you know, to look at when it comes to just expressing yourself, because this is pure soul expression. And so when you surrender to your soul, it is going to heal you. It is going to bring up pain. It is going to bring up parts that are ready to be harmonized back into your field, while also simultaneously shaking out and releasing stuff that no longer serves. And so sometimes it's the other way around. Some people, you know, sit with medicine or just kind of have a spontaneous activation, and then that's what kickstarts their healing journey. It's very different for every single person. This is something that I help people with in more of like a one-on-one container, because everyone is so different and has different needs. And I also have a Soul Codes 3-day activation replay that helps with more of like the shadow work and self-healing to get out of your own way. And so if that's something you want to dive deeper into, you can check that out. I'll put it in the description down below. But yeah, I hope that answers that. Okay, this is a major throat chakra activation answering these questions. Wow. Okay, this next question is about discernment. How do I know what's real versus people just claiming things? I practice discernment through feeling, through my body, through my nervous system. If whatever I'm exposed to, whether it's somebody speaking to me, a situation, you know, being in conversation with or witnessing something, I can usually feel in my body if that person, place, event, situation is grounded, if it's connected, if it feels good, if it feels truthful, even if it's intense or devastating, whatever it might be, I can feel it in my body fully. And on the other side, I can also feel, and you can pick up on when things aren't, like the energy isn't matching. So you can feel when somebody might not be as grounded, might not be coming from the heart, might be coming from maybe a shadow or an ego or something more performative, or like a mask, or just saying shit just to say shit. Like you can feel it. It doesn't feel as good. It doesn't feel as like resonant in your body, in your field. And it's usually something that you could just feel like something's off, even if you can't quite put your finger on it. There's like a red flag that comes up in your nervous system. And this is why, again, being grounded and actually feeling safe and connected to your body is so important in every single way that it ripples throughout life, to just be a connected person. Because unless we're really connected to our internal voice and our bodies, we won't even pick up on stuff. You know, so that's what I would say. And it's a practice of continuing to let what you feel be enough, even if that means having to say no or disappoint people or whatever it might be. You know, just letting your truth and what you feel be enough, and requires practice. The more you cultivate that practice of trusting what you feel, it becomes easier and easier and easier, and eventually you just don't fall for bullshit anymore. Just kidding. Let's answer this question. I want to put light language into music. Where do I start? I love this. There's so many different ways depending on what tools you have access to. Just start by recording a voice memo of your light code flows or like your soul songs or whatever comes through. And when you have that voice memo, you can either build around it. If you have a DAW, like I use Ableton as an example, there's lots of other DAWs out there. And you can just layer your light code with some, it could be like a drone if you want something more meditative, or if it feels more of like a dance vibe, you can add some percussion elements. And then, or you can just use that voice memo, that recording as inspiration to actually produce a full song with that kind of guiding your melodies or guiding your rhythm, your chants, whatever it might be. I love putting light language in my music, and I feel like light language is such a musical expression naturally. So yeah, it's all sound and all vibration and energy. So I also have a music production course. If you're a beginner and you need help with that, I also have a course on that you can find in the description. Have psychedelics or plant medicine been a part of your journey? Yes and no. I've never done ayahuasca. I've sat with mushrooms quite a few times. They've helped me, but as far as like channeling or like using it as like a spiritual tool, I feel like they weren't a big part of it. It hasn't been a big part of my journey at all. So this question is more about practices. What helped you deepen your connection consistently? I love martial arts and making music and singing. Those are things that I do like basically every day. Singing more so than music production, martial arts every single day. So I love exerting myself physically to the point where it humbles me, and I feel like that's such a big part of the warrior archetype that I resonate with, in the sense of just what it does for my mindset, how it pushes me outside of my comfort zone and helps me clear energy in a way that isn't so emotional. I feel like I started martial arts as a way to build more resilience around my empathy, and it's really translated into my energetic, like learning self-defense for my physical body has helped me with the energetics of life. And I don't know who I would be without martial arts now. Like, I have to train physically in order to stay grounded. As well with meditation, like I journal every single day. I meditate a lot. I've been practicing affirmations out loud a lot more in this season of life. And yeah, singing is just something that I always do like throughout my day. And so these are all of these different things is just helping me connect with myself so that I don't dissociate from reality, because I can easily get stuck in social media or just sitting there and like thinking about all these things that are so far away in the future. And I'll just sit there. So like the more I can ground into my physical body and like connect to what's happening here is how I stay connected to myself. So yeah, some days are definitely harder than others, especially when going through different challenges emotionally or different initiations. But as long as I'm doing those things, I feel like I'm able to handle them in a very grounded, integrated manner, even if they're difficult as F. It's taken time to make a routine out of them, non-negotiable as well, and to stick to them even while traveling or like being in different places around different people. And I've seen that if I don't do these certain things, move my body, meditate, breathe, journal, connect, pray, sing, I get very lost, and I can shut down and my heart will close, and I do not like that feeling at all. And so through learning that enough times, I just don't let myself get there anymore. I just refuse. So yeah, find whatever helps you like really ground into your physical body, because that is the key to everything. As long as you're connected to your physical body, it's a lot easier to navigate like what the hell is going on this planet versus if you're like somewhere else. So yeah. Okay. This is a really great question. Why do you call yourself a light warrior? And I feel like this was an awakening that happened a couple years ago. I don't know. It just started coming through, and I feel like it's so fitting for how I feel and perceive living as in this human experience, with the crazy shit that we go through, we witness and we see in the world. It literally is a war. I know we don't need more war. I'm not afraid to use that word because it's true. There is a war on our consciousness. There is a consistent battle that we've been facing and we've been fighting for quite some time, whether we want to address it or not. We are seeing this happen and manifesting in the world in a physical way. And the light warrior is one who fights for the light. If we were to pick a side and pick a team, which I know people don't like doing, and it's a series of fucking paradoxes because we are one with all of it. But in the sense of the human journey and our own hero's journey, you know, if this really is our own movie, you know, our own experience, so whatever way you like to think about your life, I want to be one who is fighting for something. I want to know that I am fighting for something that makes all of this worth and mean something beyond me. And the warrior is such a beautiful, accurate representation and kind of model for strength, courage, bravery, resilience, audacity, willpower, and just the whole lore of what a warrior would go through with being alone, you know, having to fight multiple things at once to defend your land, to defend what's sacred. It just feels very true on a soul level. I do feel that I came here to be a warrior of light, and I know even just saying that can manifest experiences that validate that, and I'm okay with that personally because I enjoy fighting for something. And it makes all of the struggle, it makes all of the pain, all of the devastation make sense in a way. And synonymously to light warrior, it's also like a warrior for peace, a warrior of the heart, I would say. You know, somebody who, like Archangel Michael, you know, Archangel Michael is a holy being, an ascended master, angelic, but he still has a sword. He still has a sword, okay? And listen, sometimes there's going to be entities, there's going to be shadows, there's going to be demons, there's going to be leeches, parasites, things that try to take us down and pull us away from our mission. And that's when we need to have self-defense. We have to be willing to fight. We have to be willing to say no and use our sword of love, you know, that sword being a symbol of our awareness, of our compassion, you know, our unconditional love that dissolves fear, that literally purifies it and that casts entities out of your own freaking body. It's love is the ultimate weapon. So not to get too literal, but more metaphorically speaking, symbolically speaking, that is why I resonate so much with that archetype. And I feel that many of us in this community share that, because it does require so much bravery to continue walking in a war, to continue fighting for love, for your family, for your lineage, to continue praying when and holding faith when there's so much darkness around. that requires strength and courage, and that is very much a warrior to me. So I feel that it's necessary. It's something that we all need at this time. We need to feel that courage and bravery and that feeling of connection, of power, to rise, like literally to stand up against that which is trying to disconnect us, to shut us down, to make us dissociate, to make us escape, to make us lose our reason for being here, that tries to mold us into everything else. Like, no. The light warriors are here to defend our authenticity, to defend our connection, our humanity, our emotions, our right to feel, our right to love, our right to express ourselves, our fight for our connection, our focus, our presence, our attention. Like, it is an ongoing battle on a daily basis. And anyone who trains in martial arts knows the strength. You know, when you're sparring and you're fighting someone, you have to. It's like life or death, you know. And who's gonna win? Are you gonna let something pin you down because you're not trying, or you're too afraid, or are you gonna fight and stand up for yourself? You know, and so that can translate into so many ways over just our consciousness, our healing, our connection, our right to have abundance, our right to have clean air, clean and healthy food, clean soil, to not be indoctrinated and programmed and fed so much bullshit. I could go so deep into all of these topics and make like so many other videos just about each individual one, but I pray that this helps bring some clarity and inspiration and just helps you ponder and reflect and be a little excited about caring for yourself, protecting your energy, moving your body, expressing, singing, and really just choosing to follow your joy in whatever way that inspiration is guiding you. And I have so many resources available, so just check my website out. If you want to hop into a one-on-one, we can explore light language or these topics more personally in a container. I also have activations available, readings, personal light code transmissions, and healings, all kinds of things. So definitely check those out if you want to connect more intimately. And thank you so much for being here. Anything that resonated with you, take it. If anything didn't, just let it go, let it be, and we'll continue sharing in any ways that I can. I love you guys so much. Thank you for being a part of this video. And if you want me to make more videos like this, please let me know. This is a fun challenge, by the way. Like, I definitely feel my throat chakra is like expanding into a new way that feels a little like, ooh, this is an edge, this is a little scary. But I'm happy I leaned into it, and so I'm gonna continue leaning into those things, and I invite you to join me in doing whatever it is that you feel called to do, even if it feels a little like, just go for it. Just go for it. And I'll see you guys in another video. Okay, bye!